last week in Mary Shamus. If you're already subscribed, welcome back, my darling. And if you have not yet subscribed, what are you doing though? Like, for real, what are you doing? Today's video is going to be a story time, and I want to welcome Mackie to the family. This was my Christmas present from my honey bunny, and it is going to make editing videos and all of the things so much easier for this channel. I wasn't going to invest in one until after I got monetized on YouTube, but my honey went ahead and got it for me for Christmas. So thank you so much, babe, for getting me the laptop, because he will not come on camera. It's just not gonna happen, people. It's just not. But if you follow me on TikTok, at morganbeauty.yt, then you've seen him. Facebook, you've seen him. Instagram, you've seen him. So this is when I was working at a restaurant, okay? We're just gonna keep it there. I was working at a restaurant as a server. This was also the same restaurant that I worked at when my stalker was in the backseat of my damn car. So I'm working at this restaurant, and I would bartend. So a lot of times with bartending at this specific restaurant, you would work as if you were working at a club. So we would be at work until like 3:30, 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning, cleaning up the place after it would close. So this one in particular day, I had worked a double, meaning that I came into work at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I worked until about 4 o'clock in the morning, okay? And anytime that there would be like a UFC fight or a game on, like, we would be slammed. Slammed. And this was one of those times. There was UFC fight on, and we were packed. And we had regulars at this restaurant, and it wasn't, these people wouldn't like stay like an hour or two. No, these people would stay like all day long. They would eat lunch there, drink all day, eat dinner, and stay until we closed, like, for real. Well, this guy was in my section. Like I said, I was bartending, so anybody sitting at the actual bar was my section. So this guy's sitting at the bar, and he was there when I clocked in at 2 o'clock. By 3 o'clock, he has a lady show up, and I'm just going to say, full disclosure, he was probably in his mid to late 40s, okay? So he has his first date show up, and she's probably younger than, I'm thinking that she was around the age of like 18, 19 at the time. So around like 5 years younger than myself at the time. And I just take note, but honestly, guys, at first I thought, and so did a few other servers thought, that this was like his daughter, okay? Up until like they started like loving on each other and things like that. That's when we were like, oh, okay, so like that's his girlfriend. Whatever, none of my business. I keep it pushing. A few hours later, she leaves, and literally, you guys, within minutes of her leaving, another young girl comes in and sits with him at the bar. At this point, I would say it's probably around 6 o'clock, and she's around the same age, younger than me. I went to ask what she wanted to drink. She said, I'm not 21. So there's that, okay? So whatever, keep it pushing. They do this, it's the same type of behavior, like loving all up on each other, kissing on each other, whatever. And guys, we would have more than just one person like sit there for all day when like fights and things and games and shit like that. Like there would be, we had a bunch of regulars at this restaurant. So there was one in particular regular that I'm still cool with this to this day. Shout out to Mitzi. Mitzi was there, and she was, me and her were talking that day, and she was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I was like, right. I thought that the first one was like his daughter. She was like, same. So this time with the girl, they end up like going outside. Of course, I don't know what they're doing. Nobody knows what they're doing because we're inside. But my lunch break comes at this point, okay? So I know for a fact that it was 8 o'clock because that's when I would take my lunch break. I go out to my car. I'm doing whatever. And I notice, like I told you guys before with this restaurant, right behind us was a hotel. So their parking lot joined our parking lot. So I see this truck, like, say my car's here, This truck was in the other parking lot facing me, like 3 spaces down, okay? But I can completely see what's happening, and people are having sex. Whatever. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is awkward. So I get out of my car and I go to like the back patio, like employee area. And I'm sitting back there and I'm like, guys, there's literally 2 people like having sex in a truck over at the hotel. And they're like, oh my God, big shocker. You know, people would do this all the time. So I come back in for my break and they're still not back in there. So I tell my boss, I'm like, hey, like I've been on an hour lunch and they still have not come back in here. Like, what should we do? And he was like, I'll go check the parking lot. So he goes outside, comes back in. His face is as red as a beet. He's like, I'm never doing that again. I was like, what? We'll call him Billy. He was like, I know Billy's truck. And I'd seen his face, so I went out there and I didn't see anybody in there with him. I walk up to the window and he's getting a blow. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. He's like, it's not your fault, whatever. But here's the money. So I cash out his tab, whatever. He comes back in like an hour later, like it was a minute. It might have been longer than an hour. And he comes back in and he sits back down in his spot. There was this girl that worked with me, and I'm going to put this out full disclosure. Billy liked thick girls. He was always with like a bigger girl or had a, and usually he would have like women his age with him. That's why this was weird, because he didn't usually like have young girls there. So about 11:30, it's slammed, like super duper slammed, because people who's about to go out to the strip and stuff are coming in to have dinner. And he like motions for me to come over there, and he would always drink a Jaeger bomb with a sugar-free Red Bull. Always. That's what he drank. He would drink the same thing the whole night. And so I'm like, you need another? And he's like, no, I want that girl's phone number. And I'm like, who? And he points to a girl who I know for a fact was 20 years old, okay? Because she was one of the people who couldn't work at the bar or near the bar. She could only work at the booths or like the tabletops. And I was like, we'll call her Stacy. I was like, Stacy? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I just want to let you know, like, she's 20 years old, blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, that's no problem. I'm like, okay. So when I get a chance, Stacy comes over to actually have another server put in a alcohol order. I'm like, hey, Billy wants your number. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, you know who Billy is, right? And she's like, yeah, I know who Billy is. I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. You do whatever you want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you were wanting a sugar daddy, like, get that coin, sis. Like, I'm not here to judge nobody, okay? I've definitely done some shit that people would want to judge me for, so I'm not going to be the one to judge you. You do whatever you want to do. So I give the number to Billy. Now we're going to fast forward about a month and a half, okay? Keep in mind that Stacy and Billy have been an item this whole time. I come into work one night and Billy's already there. Again, it's a double. So anytime that there was a game or something like that, I would be working a double. Stacy ends up coming in a few hours later. Billy hasn't mentioned anything. I've took his orders a few times. By the time Stacy comes in, you can tell that she's really upset. And I'm like, hey, Stacy, you know, whatever. She completely ignores me. I'm like, okay. So I just keep it pushing, like, okay. Going on through the night, whatever. One of my friends, which I have permission to use her name, Brittany, she was like, Morgan, I need to tell you something. I'm like, okay, what's up, girl? And she's like, Stacy is pissed at you. And I was like, why? And she said, because she found your number in Billy's phone. I was like, well, how the hell would Billy have my number? Because I ain't never gave it to him. Like, I don't know. I'm just here to tell you that that's why she's pissed off. I was like, okay, whatever. I know it's not my phone number. So I go over to Billy and I'm like, hey, why did you tell Stacy that you have my phone number? I've never in life given you my phone number. He was like, I don't have your phone number. And I'm like, well, what the hell is going on? What's really going on? And guys, if you've ever worked in a restaurant, you know how other servers can be. They can be super petty. They can be super nasty. They can be whatever. So eventually Stacy has to come up to the bar with another server. And so when Stacy comes up to the bar with this other server that I'm also friends with, I'm like, Stacy, why are you telling people that you're mad at me because Billy has my phone number? And she was like, he does. I seen it. I seen your all's text messages. I was like, baby girl, that ain't me. And I just went straight up and asked him, and he said he doesn't have my phone number. So you got the wrong bitch. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. It said Morgan and the name of our restaurant. And I'm like, there ain't no other Morgan here. And she was like, exactly. That's why I knew it was you. And I was like, well, you need to talk to your man because obviously he's trying to cover up who he's talking to. So long story short, this man put my name over his side whore's real name. I don't know like what he was trying to pull there, but you all, I'm not going to like air out their business or anything like that. That's not my place to do. We're going to go ahead and fast forward to when I was having some really big issues with my stalker. And I have a whole story that will be linked up in the cards. So not long after that, okay, my friend Brittany we basically were working the same shifts, okay? So when my boyfriend couldn't like come and meet me or pick me up at work, like me and Brittany could walk into work together, we could leave to work together. Like I was actually like going through it, like I was scared. And this one in particular night, and Billy knew this. Billy knew all about this because Billy would walk me out to my car too. Like people would walk me out all the time. I was petrified, you guys. So this one in particular night, I was working basically all day. I was working open to close 3 nights in a row because we had a bunch of servers quit. So I decided to stay instead of driving all the way back home and all the way back. I decided to stay at the hotel that was behind the restaurant. And Brittany stayed with me. But nobody knew that Brittany was going to be with me. So this one in particular night, like I said, I had already stayed one night at this hotel. This is the second night. And Brittany is with me. I had a panic attack after night 1 and decided to have Brittany stay with me. Shout out to Brittany. I love you. You all leave her some hearts in the comments. So Brittany stays with me, whatever. And guys, like I said, by the time that we got off work, it's like 3:30 in the morning, 3:30, 4 o'clock, whatever. But since me and Brittany were working all day, they were letting us leave at like 2:30, okay? But about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, we've already showered and of course are knocked out because we have to be back at work at 11 o'clock the next morning. And there's like a pound at my hotel room door. And it's not like, you would think it was the police, just being real. So I remember like Brittany like being like, oh my God, like who the fuck is that? And I'm like, oh my God. So I peek out the peephole and it's Billy. And I look over at Brittany and I'm like, it's Billy. And she was like, Billy who? And I was like, Billy, the regular at the restaurant. And she's like, oh my God. I just screamed through the door. I'm like, what do you need? And he's like, I really just need to talk to you. I said, now's not a good time. Now's not a good time. Well, he leaves. So don't think nothing of it. Next day at work, he comes into work. And Brittany is the type of person where like, if you piss her off, like she's going to confront you. It's just going to happen. So she's outside smoking on her break and Billy comes outside to smoke. And she's like, I want to know what the hell what was that all about last night? Why would you show up at Morgan's hotel room? She doesn't mention anything about her being there. So almost like I came to work and I told Brittany about it. And he was like, well, I just needed a friend, da, 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 da. And Brittany's like, she's not your friend. She's your waitress. Don't do that again. And he was like, shit, I'm sorry, just trying to hang out with a friend, just trying to, I needed a shoulder to cry on. Me and Stacy broke up and I really needed somebody. I needed a shoulder. And she's like, she's not your shoulder. She's not your friend, like really like that, like just not having it. So night goes on, whatever. I do want to just preface, Billy had been really weird to me the whole entire night. And I wasn't seeing it, but everybody else was like, bitch, like he is being very odd. Like he's flirting with you. And I was like, no, he's not. He knows better. I've told him several times that I'm not interested, that it's not happening. And they were like, okay, just saying, like, he seems like he's into you. So whatever, we end up going to the hotel room, and this was our last night working. So there was a pool there, an indoor pool, and we decided to go to the pool. And in the swimming pool, which is basically a glass room, you can see a truck pull up and a man getting out of it. And as he walks around, Brittany turns around in the water and looks at me and says, that's Billy. Now, preface, you could not get into this like pool room unless you had a room key, okay? But we could access the hotel. We didn't have to like go outside or anything like that. So he bangs on the door. We're like, no, leave us alone. We go up to the room, whatever. He bangs on the freaking door again. It's the same room, which now thinking back, hindsight's always 20/20. I should have changed my room, to be honest, but I didn't think he would come back after I'd made it clear that I wasn't into it. So he comes back up, knocks on the door, and I said, what do you want? And he said, I just need a friend. Me and Stacy broke up. And I said, then go talk to one of your buddies. I'm not your friend. I'm your waitress. You're scaring me. Please leave me alone. He's like, whatever. I'm not your stalker. I ought to tell him where you are. And when he said that, that was it. That was it. I called front desk. Front desk called the police. And that was the last time that I seen Billy, the weirdo from the restaurant that I worked at. Thank you so much, Brittany, for staying with me and working my shifts with me for those couple of months when I was really going through it. You're a real one. I will love you for always. And yeah, guys, there's another one of my story times. You guys have really been enjoying my thoughts on series that I've had during Mary Seamus. And I'm going to continue it on. I've had a few of you guys message me to my business email and say, hey, let's do this YouTuber, this YouTuber, this YouTuber. So I have a bunch lined up, and I want to know under the comments here, like, what other YouTubers would you want? Again, this is an open discussion. My opinion's mine. Your opinion's yours. So yeah, I love you guys so very much. And until next time, bye.